link in the bio. I'm gonna shut that down. So I'm excited about this for a number of reasons, y'all. I remember when I first started in this business, I knew very little. I began networking with people, grabbing pieces and pieces from different people, and then I finally created my own secret formula to win in this industry. So that's why I'm here to share it with you guys today. If you guys are excited about what you're going to learn here today, drop a 1 in the chat for me. Great. All right, so I'm gonna give y'all a little background about me that you might not know. A lot of people know me as the Computer Man. I'm a 36-year-old entrepreneur. I've been in this business for over 9 years, but it wasn't always like that. I worked in the auto industry before this, selling cars. The economy crashed, people's credit went to shit. Couldn't get people finance for cars. And then I realized that that industry wasn't consistent. The industry success was only based on the economy and how the economy was. So I left the car industry to do photography. I worked for LifeTouch for 3 years. And then 3 years later, actually I worked for them for 5 years, but 3 years into my career with them, the cell phone industry started producing cameras that was just as good as the cameras we were using in LifeTouch photography and that nature. So the sales started to decline. That was a commission-based job. It paid really well, but when people could take the same quality pictures on their cell phone, the money stopped coming in like it used to. And then I realized that industry was based on lack of access. And what I mean by lack of access is access to technology has become more and more obtainable than it was when I first got in the first 5 years of that career. And the more obtainable that the technology became, shit, the sales started to decline because people was able to get their hands on this stuff a lot easier. The prices started to drop. So God led me into the e-waste business, which I didn't see where I was going at the time, but years later, it started to click like, okay, so start working at this e-waste company. And the first thing, well, actually, if you do not know what e-waste is, raise your hand or put something in there so I can explain what e-waste is. I don't want to go too fast. So if you don't know what e-waste is, just say, I don't know in the chat and I'll explain what e-waste is. All right, so somebody don't know what e-waste is, don't feel ashamed. E-waste is basically electronic waste. So I was working at an electronic waste company. An electronic waste company is basically like, you know how the recycling company come past and pick up all your plastics and your cardboards and shit like that in your neighborhood. Well, e-waste, they don't actually come pick it up, but a lot of people would drop it off or they would contract with different companies to collect their electronic waste. So whenever a school or a business would upgrade their equipment, they would actually get rid of the equipment. They didn't want to, it's just not economically safe to just throw this stuff in the landfill because it doesn't decompose the same way as if we threw a banana in the trash or if we threw, you know, certain stuff that we have in our homes in the trash, a piece of paper towel, that would decompose within a matter of a year or two to actually waste that would actually be good. Well, not really good, but it'll actually decompose and it'll fertilize the ground or whatever. But if you throw a radio in the trash, that shit ain't just gonna break down into dust or nothing like that. It could take hundreds and hundreds of years. So e-waste companies came about and e-waste companies get rid of these things or find ways to make use of it or refurbish or rebuild it. And it's a lack of knowledge in our community about this whole sector, and it's a lot of billions and billions and billions of dollars in the sector. So that's the main reason why I wanted to educate and come to y'all now and educate you about the whole, how I got into it and how I found a secret formula to success in it. And I've been able to gross $1 million in a year with this company that I run now, DMV Computerman, and we're growing and growing to newer heights. So when I first got with this e-waste company, the first thing I noticed, y'all, when you pull in the parking lot of a new job, first thing you notice is the cars people be driving, right? So the first thing I noticed is the owner got a BMW i8 Or I'm thinking that's the owner's car. I'm like, yo, that gotta be the owner's car. I see an I-8 in the parking lot and it's parked right at the door, like where it was parked and shit. I'm like, all right, this gotta be the owner. So I'm like, yo, this where the money at. Like when I was working for Light Touch, niggas wasn't driving no shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Even when I was selling cars, people the car salesman wasn't pulling up like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn, that's another level right here. So that was the first thing that kind of attracted me to this industry when I got. I'm like, all right, this motherfucker's making money in this shit. So how many of y'all want to drive nice cars? Raise your hand. Or put a one in the chat if you want to drive a nice car. If that one of your goals in life is to get a nice ass whip to drive and, you know what I'm saying, push that joint. So I decided I wanted to learn the entire business model from repairing computers to recycling e-waste to acquiring e-waste, precious metals, reselling refurbished e-waste. I wanted to learn the whole game because I wanted to drive that whip. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to I8. The very next day on the job, I pull up second day, he pull up in the Audi A8. I'm like, shit, this motherfucker got it, Slim. You know what I'm saying? So it attracted me. I like nice things. It attracted me. And I was already into computers and stuff as far as I just knew I liked them. You know what I'm saying? That's about as much as I know about computers. It was like, all right, we got one in the house. I be downloading free music on the Joe. You know, I like this. This is a good thing. This is going to be the future, y'all. So I saw an actual future in the business, whereas those other businesses that I was in, I saw no future after a certain amount of time. Technology was, see where I'm going with this? God put me in this position for real, for real. That's what I'm really trying to explain to y'all, because technology was pushing me out of all the industries that I was really in. If it wasn't technology, it was the economy. You dig what I'm saying? Because the cars, I couldn't sell cars if people credit was messed up. I couldn't get them financed. And then they wanted something they couldn't afford. And when I got to the picture taking business, it was good until everybody could go grab a phone and take good ass pictures on that Joan. You couldn't tell if they had a professional camera or not. So I'm like, all right, technology is where I really need to be, because this is what's going to replace people. And a lot of people believe that. So I decided I wanted to learn the whole thing. The industry has endless ways to make money, and it's somewhat of a new phenomenon and is constantly evolving. And you probably like, new, this ain't new. No, it's not new, but it's new compared to the repair of like cars, or if you was to repair washing machines. If you was in that business, that could be a little oversaturated or outdated because that's been around for such a long period of time. A lot of people do it, even though car repair is going to always be lucrative because everybody has to drive a car and get somewhere. So, but certain repair industries, they became less lucrative, like TV repair, certain things like that, because you could just buy another TV for the same cost that it is to replace. So, and it's a thin line between it, but I'm gonna teach you guys all of that. So, little backstory to all of this is, on the side of everything that I was doing, whether it was selling cars, doing pictures, or when I first joined the e-waste business, I love music. So my side hustle was producing music, making beats, even though it really didn't pay me anything, right? But I was in love with the music. So, you know, I didn't care about the money. It was more about the music. So I was in love with it. If y'all know somebody that's in love with the music, trying to break through the music, then you'll understand the whole thing with that, right? So I knew many people who also had the same passion. They all wanted to build their own home studio, but nobody had the knowledge of technology, the technology side, or even knew all of the components they needed to have it a professional setup. Like anybody that, whether you rap, you make beats, at the end of the day, the goal is, yeah, I need a home studio. I'm tired of paying for studio time. Woo. So everybody I knew in that business was like, yo, I need, you know what I'm saying, to build my own studio. But they don't know nothing about the technical side, like the microphones, the what type of, you know what I'm saying? They don't know what to buy. So you end up wasting a lot of money buying the wrong things and learning from your mistakes. So many of them had computers. They would download bogus software from torrent sites. You know, the torrent sites like Napster, Pirate Bay. They get on these sites, and in the process, they would infect their machines with viruses, malware, spyware, and which in turn would make the computer just trip out, start crashing, maybe shit popping up, things like that. And then the other half of them would have base model machines where they needed to do upgrades or to run most of the programs that they were running, because these music programs, these video programs, they don't just run on any old regular, degular, smegular machine. You need a high-end machine in order to run these things, right? So a lot of them didn't have the knowledge of it. So that's when I was like, yo, I'm already working in the field. I need to learn as much as I could learn about this field. Because I was, at the time, I got hired to be a salesman, sell the computers. They didn't hire me to fix computers. They didn't hire me to learn nothing else. But I made it my goal to sit down and mentor with the different people who was running those different departments and learn and pick their brain. I'm calling them while I'm at work. I ain't got shit to do. Like, yo, if I had a computer, I'm just picking their brain. Like, yo, if I had a computer and it did this, that, and the third, what would I need to do to fix this? And they give me this information. I'm jotting shit down. And that's how I became who I am, y'all. I started learning. I got cool with the owners. I'm learning from the owners. They teaching me different things about that business side, contracts, the whole nine. So I learned a lot about it. And then these were some of the false beliefs that I had that I just want to break. So a lot of people think in order to be in the computer industry or even in the IT industry, you need an A+ certification. You don't. You do not need an A+ certification, because it's a lot of people now that went to YouTube University and they know more than a person who actually went to a 4-year university or whatever the case may be in order to learn what they learn. And a lot of them teaching on YouTube, you don't know if they had an A+ or not, but they're giving out this information and people are learning. So that's what breaks the narrative right there. You don't need an A+ certification. So if you're thinking, yo, I need to go to school to dive into this business, you don't need to go to school to dive into it. You might need a mentorship of some sort, but you don't need to go to school. You can actually just learn online. You don't need a bunch of money to get started in this business. And a lot of people, a false belief is they don't know who could be their customer, so they just don't want to learn how to do this stuff. Because it's like, well, where am I going to use this skill set at? I don't know nobody that is going to pay me to fix their computer. Everybody uses a computer. If you know how to fix it, they're going to pay you to fix it. All right. So we'll dive into a PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to start learning a little bit about computer repair. I have a couple of I've been doing this for over 9 years, like I said, and I've learned where the money come in at. And I'm guessing a lot of y'all are here. If you're here to learn how to do this for your own personal, just your own personal usage, put a number 2 in the chat. If you're here to learn this because you want to make some money off of this skill set and get a career, put a 1 in the chat. I want to see where y'all at as far as, you know what I'm saying, who I'm talking to while I pull this PowerPoint up. It's my PowerPoint. This YouTube shit up. Y'all can see my screen? I think y'all can see it now. See the chat real quick. So somebody put, we got a lot of twos. So a lot of people just try and learn for their own personal. If I'm good at it, 1, why not? Yeah, 2, maybe 1. Cool. So, like I told y'all, I got into this, 1, because I saw how much money the owners of the business made. They was making off of this whole business. Then 2, I saw the longevity of it. So you do got to ask yourself this question, like, do you see the career or whatever you're doing now being something that's going to be around in the next 10 to 20 years? That was the next thing I asked myself, because I had just had a kid. So I was like, yo, I can't keep hopping from career to career. I need to find something steady that I can do, instead of just, you know what I'm saying, jumping into something and then that shit only been away for a certain period of time and then me moving on. So that's why I saw the longevity. That's why I wanted to see where y'all was at with this. All right. So computer repair and maintenance is divided into two sections. You got the hardware side and you got the software side. So one of the things that I wanted to tell y'all was the secret in this whole business is 90% of the issues can be fixed with just one repair, for real, right? And a lot of people don't know this, and they'll end up paying to go to a Best Buy or DMV Computerman store, wherever, and they could have actually probably fixed the computer themselves 9 times out of 10. And the secret to it is 90% of the software issues, like your computer not booting up, different things like that, are because you need an OS reload, which is an operating system reload. And the OS reload will fix viruses, malware, spyware. If you ever had the blue screen of death, y'all ever seen that, where the screen just turns, like when you turn the computer on, it'll act like it's about to do something, then it goes to like this blue screen, the same color as the PowerPoint with some white words on it that you don't really understand. Fixes that, fixes computer not booting up, just like in a loop, stuck in a boot loop where it's just not going anywhere. So all of these things that happen, one little fix will fix all of it. It's called an OS reload. An OS reload in this industry is where I take a flash drive that I have loaded the Microsoft or Mac OS onto, and the OS is just operating system. So if you don't know these terms that I'm using, I will slow down and break them down for you. So OS is an operating system, and every computer has to run off of an operating system, just like your phone. So when your phone has an operating system update, it'll put it out there. So like most people using iPhones, you'll have a OS 14, OS 12, 13, and so on and so forth. Those are the operating systems. They are the same on computers. You have Windows operating system, which you have like Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows 7. Those are operating systems. And then in Mac OS, if you're using a laptop, you'll have like Catalina. You'll have, let's see, you've got a couple people that's trying to answer the chat. You'll have Catalina. You'll have the newest one out is Big Sur. You'll have Leopard, Snow Lion. They got a bunch of different OSs, and they'll put them out every year. So when you having an issue with a lot of software, like if it's not booting up, if you got pop-ups popping up, or you got scammed or something, like I get a lot of people come in like, yo, these people called me, I let them get access to my computer, then they started trying to tell me I need to go send them some money, woo, I'm scared they still can see my computer stuff, woo. The only way to clean these out is an OS reload, and an OS reload is basically you just going through these following steps. So you'll boot from the recovery disk, which is these flash drives. Back in the day, they used to put them on a DVD or a CD, right? And it would come with the computer when you purchased it brand new. But if you bought it used, you was just shit out of luck. But you can make these. So we make these drives, right? And they'll have whatever the OS is for whatever computers that we are repairing. You'll boot from these disks. You'll format the hard drive. Formatting the hard drive is just another word for erasing the hard drive. So you'll erase the hard drive. So just keep that in mind when if you decide to do this, that you're erasing everything that was on your computer. So before you do this, you can also just back up the files. So if the computer is working properly, you can back up the files onto another one of these flash drives, you know what I'm saying, or external hard drive, or whatever the case may be. You back up your files, because you are going to end up erasing everything, because that's the only true way to get rid of a virus. A lot of the myth is, and I've seen a lot of people come in my store with this mentality that I got a virus. If I go download an antivirus software, it'll zap the virus. That shit is a myth. That's false. So if you had that belief, scratch that out your head, because that is not how it works. So antivirus, the main job of the antivirus is to block the viruses. It's not to zap viruses and kill viruses and stuff like that. That is not what they intended to do, is to block them. So it's a prevention tool. It's just the equivalent of you, and I tell all my customers this, it's the equivalent of you getting in a car and putting a seatbelt on. That's all antivirus is awaits to, is just you being able to put another safety mechanism on top of what you already have on your computer, or what you know in your brain as what is good and bad, good versus evil on the computer, right? So antivirus, if you decide to go put an antivirus on your computer and go on a porn website or go onto a torrent website and download free movies, free music, free software, whatever it is, you know that is free, you know, it's going to be a little catch to it. A lot of times that's how people acquire these viruses and stuff. So it's inevitable because people love free shit, and that's how they target you. So it's inevitable, right? So people will go out and they'll download this stuff, and then they'll end up with a virus. Now they got pop-ups and stuff like that. So we'll go in and we erase every single thing on the computer. That's the only way to get rid of this shit. You cannot just download an antivirus software thing. It's just gonna zap value and your shit gonna be good. Back in the day, my mother, I don't know where she got this information from, but she used to tell us to run the defrag and it'll fix the shit. I don't know where the fuck that shit came from. That defrag shit is like, it's like taking an aspirin or something. Like, I don't know. Sometimes it's just a mental thing. Aspirin do work, but like for certain things, they'd be like, like when you got sick, your grandma be like, take a BC powder or take an aspirin. That shit don't work for everything. You know what I'm saying? So it was the equivalent to that. So do not fall for the little hoax that people be throwing around, like, oh, just run a defrag, oh, just download Norton and that shit gonna get it out of there. If anything, if you already got a virus and you just now downloading the antivirus software, it's gonna actually slow the computer down even more, because the antivirus runs these scans constantly. So if the virus is already slowing you down, the antivirus is, you know what I'm saying? It's like taking the shot for the coronavirus while you already got the coronavirus. The shit ain't gonna kill the coronavirus in your body. If anything, it's gonna make the shit worse, right? So it's the same mindset. So I hope I broke that down to everybody, right? Kiara said, I thought that. Yeah, it's not true. It don't work like that. So the mindset is off, and a lot of people will go in and try to self-medicate their own problems, and what they end up doing is making it worse. So the process is right here in front of you. You boot from a recovery disk, you format the drive, meaning erase the drive, you run the installation that's already on this disk, and then at the end of the installation, you set up ownership, because it'll be just like you buying a brand new computer. So this also works for folks who will have old devices and they no longer using them, but they don't want their stuff on them, and you want to erase them. You can go through the same process and reset it back up to a factory reinstall. But like I said, if you do have your baby's pictures when she was 2 months old and you can't afford to lose all of that stuff on the computer, then I do recommend backing up the files. And if you're going to jump out here in this business and do other people's computers, like your friends, and please be sure that you know that they want this shit. Like, let them know that this shit is going to erase everything. So before I start, make sure you know if they need these, because you cannot get this stuff back. And I ain't gonna lie, I fucked up somebody's life before doing this shit wrong. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I had a lady cry right in my face because I deleted her baby's pictures and the baby passed away. Like, that shit was real to her. And it never dawned on me. I just was geeked up. I learned some new shit. I was trying to try it on as many people as I can, and I fucked their shit up. So I also learned how to get the stuff back though. So that was another learning lesson that I learned in the whole thing. But So you're gonna set up new ownership where you'll put in a new username, password, accept the terms of agreements and all this. This is like real simple stuff. And then at the end of it, I always ask people to check for drivers. Drivers are like minor software or mini software that's built into the computer that only works for your specific computer. So it'll be like the software, like some computers have Bluetooth, some don't, some will have webcam, some don't. So the OS doesn't know what components the computer has. It just knows that it can put the software on the computer. Then sometimes you'll have to go on the back end and you'll notice the webcam is not working or responding, or the speakers aren't responding because you have a Bose system or the Beats by Dre on your laptop, or you got something special that's not a part of the Windows Microsoft OS. That's called a driver, and you can go online to the manufacturer's website of the computer, type in the make and model of the computer, and then it'll give you a list of the drivers. They call them drivers. It's just little software. You download it and then they'll run it. It take like 30 seconds to run. Some of them could take minutes depending on the driver. But that will fix all of the missing components that you might be missing when you finish running the operating system reload. And then the beauty of this whole thing is, like I said, 90% of computer repair jobs are going to be this process, right? You just sticking a flash drive in, tapping a couple buttons and running. If you read at the bottom, it says this will literally run on autopilot and you can go do other things. So I charge $75 per reload. $99 if I have to back up the files first and reload. So that's $100 of me sitting and doing something and then letting the computer run on autopilot until I come back to it. $100. So that's how many people. Put a number 1 in the chat if you would love to just make an extra $100 here and there doing something that don't require that much work. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to take you probably less than an hour. I'm pretty sure not too many people make $100 an hour, right? Not too many people make $100 an hour at their 9-to-5 job. Most people are trading their time, a whole hour of their time, for just $20 or 25, $30, right? And they have to sit there and act like they're working. They have to be doing something, because if the boss walk past and see you ain't doing shit, it's going to be a problem, or they might find extra work for you to do, or whatever the case may be. You can actually start your own computer repair business, just boom, popping in a flash drive, resetting computers, removing viruses, and doing these different things, all with just having one of these flash drives popped in a computer. And then I'm gonna show y'all a cheat code on this computer right here. These newer computers, right? They made it even easier. The newer computers made it even easier, right? I'm gonna turn this computer on right here, and I'm gonna show you how easy the newer computers made it. So, but you have to, and this also works. I want to share this with y'all. This also works on computers that you don't know the passwords to and stuff like that. So you don't have to know the password to use this flash drive method and erase it. You could have found the computer off the street. You could buy it off the street. You could have, your job could have gave it to you, or whatever the case may be. You could go in, yeah, it's a factory reset, but you're using a flash drive, because older models don't have a recovery partition, right? Whereas these newer computers, right? This is a Dell, this is like a 7th or 8th generation Dell. You can actually go down here to the search right here with a little Cortana, the search jump, and just type in reset, right? And it'll say reset this PC. It'll take you to this screen right here. Forgot my camera right here. It'll take you to this screen right here. Right at the top, it says reset this PC, right? You can hit get started. Then this is the beauty of the whole thing, right? Say you don't got the flash drive, or the customer or a person pulls up on you, they got a newer model, they having these issues. They don't know nothing about how to keep this from happening. They just know they want this shit fixed. You can type in reset this PC, take you to this screen, say they want their files backed up. Like I said, I charge $100 if they want the files backed up. If they don't, then it's $75, right? And it's going to take me about an hour to do, right? say they want their files back up, you can hit keep my files on here. If they don't want everything and they want to erase it, they want it fresh, it says remove everything. So then you would hit that and it'll say getting things ready. Then certain computers, some of them will have where you can do it through the cloud, meaning you are doing it through an internet connection, or you can do local reinstall, which is what I recommend doing. Local reinstall means that the computer software that's already on this computer has a partition for you to recover, and it'll do it through the local. If you do it through the cloud, it's going to take longer because it's going to download the Microsoft OS before it starts installing. Whereas if you do it local, it's going to reinstall automatically through the device. The software will already be on the computer versus you downloading the software. So if you understood what I just said about that, leave a 1 in the chat before I move on. I just want to make sure I don't go too fast. All right. Sweet, sweet. All right. So y'all understand that. So once you go through that part, it goes into autopilot mode that fast. Like, I mean, I literally just took 3 minutes to do that or less, right? And it'll go on autopilot mode where it'll just start loading and installing the software. This could take like 30 to 40 minutes. Sometimes it could take an hour, depends on how fast the processor is on the computer, how it's spec'd out. If it has a lot of RAM, a lot of processing power, it'll do it fast. If it's like a base model, it'll do a little slower. But this is 90% of the repair work that we doing here, y'all. So when most people come in here, yo, I got a virus, this is all we're really doing. And we might set it on a shelf and let it run for an hour. We could get 3, 4, 5, 10 of these in an hour. Y'all do the math, that's $750 in an hour. And all we doing is tap, 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 tapping and letting the software run and fix itself, right? If you think that you're capable of doing this, put a number 0 in the chat. I just want to see who feels like after just seeing me do that or get to those screens that they think they're capable of doing that. All right, sweet. So that's easy money, right? All right, cool. We'll move on. Now we're going to talk about hardware repairs. Second secret in this business, y'all, is 75% of hardware repairs that are done are broken screen repairs. 20% of the hardware repairs that are done in this business are hard drive replacements. 3% of the repairs that are done in this business are RAM replacements. 2% of the hardware repairs that are done are going to be other components, meaning that 2% of the time, it's going to be some shit that you probably never will even touch anyway. You can make money off the 95 to 98% of what's going to be going on. And I wouldn't even fool with the 2%. In the 2% category, I would always recommend the customer to buy another computer, right? But if it's a screen, if it's a hard drive, or if it's RAM, we're going to go in and we're going to replace it and we're going to make the money off the part and the labor. So that's the beauty of doing the hardware side, is you could tap on a little extra for you being the person to order the part versus the person coming to you with the parts. Because 90% of the time, if somebody shows up with the part, they're going to show up with the wrong part. Because if they knew what the fuck they was doing in the beginning, they would already be able to fix the computer themselves. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times they just think they know what they're doing and they be trying to cut corners, save a little bit here because they think you're going to tax them on the part anyway. So a lot of times they'll try to order the part. Well, not a lot of times, but the folks that they will order the part and they'll show up and it ain't gonna be the right part anyway. So now they just lost time. They got to send that part back. So it's best to let you do the repair anyway, right? Screen repairs are so simple because I'm gonna find a computer real quick that I'm gonna pull. So we got a computer, right? Screen repair, right? These are some of the easiest jobs. If you thought that the OS reload was an easy, as y'all said, y'all put the zeros in the chat and said that you feel like you can do that, then you'll definitely feel like you can do this as well, screen repair, right? So a screen repair on 90% of the computers consists of just a couple of parts. You got the bezel, which is this framing that goes around the screen, the actual screen, and then you'll have the screen cable. Those are the only 3 parts that you have to deal with, right? And all that consists of, and this particular screen, it has these screws going all the way around it, right? So of course you got to remove these screws to take the bezel off, right? Once you take this bezel off, you'll see the hinges, right? Inside of here. And there'll be some screws holding those hinges in. Once you take those screws out, the screen will pretty much lay out in front of you. Like you'll be able to lay the screen out of the actual lid that's right here, right? When the screen drops out, it's just a cable inside that you will pull out, and you've taken the screen out, and then you're just basically doing the same thing in reverse to put a new screen in, which is get a screen that's not cracked, buy a brand new screen, put the cable back in, put it back up, screw in your hinge screws, put your bezel back on. Voila, you're done. We charge $125, $150 for like a older machine. These newer machines, you can end up spending $250, $300. And then on a MacBook, man, the lowest we've ever done a MacBook screen is like $350, right? The most expensive we've done on a MacBook is $1,000 screen. $1,000. It literally, now me personally, I've been doing this for over 9 years. So of course I can literally do this in about 15 minutes. I can literally do this in 15 minutes. I've trained all my staff. We got over 5 technicians in the store. Everybody can do these, the 2 repairs I've already showed y'all. They have to know how to do this because it's 90% of my income. And I don't have to do it no more, right? But it literally takes me 15 minutes if I was to come in and do it. And I can make anywhere from $150 just to do it in those 15 minutes. And that's not in profit because I do order the screen. So the screens might end up costing like $50. Now, the reason the Apple screens, but keep in mind, that's $100. That's $100 profit. Screen cost me $50. So if I do it for $125, it makes $75. But since the pandemic and little things have been getting a little more expensive, we've actually raised our screen repair price. The base price is $150 to do a screen. And if you think about the cell phone industry, it's the same thing. What you think 95% of the money that come in from the cell phone repair shops are coming from? Put it in the chat if you think you know, if you was to go into You Break, We Fix, or all of those little mall junks that fix your phones, where you think, yeah, they making most of their money off of a cracked screen. So all you really, you don't have, like, that's why I was trying to kill the whole narrative of you don't need an A+ certification to make money in this business. Why? Why would you need all of that? If you've learned how to fix the screen, you can sit down and that's 90% of that money. The people in the mall making that bag. They making that bag. They making that bag, right? Fixing broken screens. In my business, the hardware side, 75% of the bag that we make in this business is us doing a 15-minute screen swap out. 15-minute screen swap out. And you talking about $100 an hour? Shoot, we can make $400 or $500 an hour. $400 or $500 an hour, right? The other 20% of the money that we make, right, of hardware repairs that are done are the hard drive replacements, right? The hard drives are these things, right? You see them in the picture on the, that's the inside of one, but this is when you don't have the covering off of it. So these hard drives, the good thing is the picture that I got on the PowerPoint shows you the inside. The hard drives go bad quite often, right? And the reason why is because it's nothing but a CD disc inside. And what most people do, they're going to break it anyway. And I'm going to tell you how. They don't turn their computer off. They don't. They just close the shit and they keep it pushing, right? So you working on your computer, right? And you're done, you just close it, put it in the book bag and keep it moving. Well, guess what? That CD disc in the picture down below, that's the hard drive, right? that disc is spinning. It's a CD. It's spinning, right? And that little needle is like a record player, right? That needle is a record player. So back in the day when your father or your mother had the old school record player, you put the record on there, you drop the needle, and then it'll spin and it'll play, right? Well, your hard drive is that same old ass technology bottled up into this, right? It's bottled up into this. And what it does is, if you don't turn that computer off and shut it down properly, that disk is still spinning in your book bag, in your purse, in your cases, or whatever the case may be, right? And it's scratching the fuck out the disk. It's scratching the fuck out the disk, right? And to the point where one day you're gonna turn that computer on and that shit ain't gonna boot up. It's not gonna boot up. And then that's where we would go back and you'll bring it into us. And the first thing we'll try to do, right, is reload the software. So we'll put our flash drive in and we'll try to reload the operating system on that thing. But if the computer is like acting real quirky while we're trying to go through that process, then that'll let us know, all right, it's the fucking the hard drive is messed up. So that's when we'll go in. And like I said, 20% of the money we make is replacing these. We charge $150 starting price to put one of these in. You can buy one of these on Amazon for like 20 bucks. We're gonna charge you $150 for the part and the labor to put it in, right? And now if you want some supersized joint, like a larger size one, like a terabyte, which upcharge you. So we upcharge you for the larger spaces, right? We'll give you base space. Now this is what's called an SSD, right? This hard drive right here, this is called an SSD, right? And SSDs are 10 times faster than these drives, right? So a lot of people, when they come to me, I automatically will try to upsell them on doing an SSD for two reasons. The SSD doesn't have any moving parts. It's called a solid state drive. And that's what the SSD stands for. It stands for solid state drive, right? And the SSD doesn't have the spinning, it doesn't have that old shit in it. It's up to date. It's like the MP3. So I'm trying to break it down so y'all understand it like music, right? So back in the day, we had record players and we had CDs, and the CDs was fucking up and they was getting scratched, and you would have to dub another copy of the disc or whatever the case may be. Even with the tapes, the tape will get messed up in the tape player, right? Well, they've mastered this to now it's an SSD. So this is like the equivalent of an MP3, where you ain't got a scratched up MP3. It's saved on an actual, you know, your phone or whatever the device is. So you've never had that problem where, oh, my CDs are scratched, woody woo woo. SSD is the reason why, right? These have a low rate of actually failing and breaking on you, the whole nine. So a lot of times I'll upgrade people to these. These I could charge you $200, $300, depending on how much space, because these drives are more expensive. So that's 95% of our hardware repairs is either us changing the screen, us popping off this bezel, then looking for the screws, taking them screws out, folding this down, taking the little cable out that's going in the back of the screen, putting a new screen in, putting that cable back in, putting it back, and then putting the screws in. It takes 15, 20 minutes tops, right? For me. Now, for you, it could take 30 minutes because you're going to be new to it. But at the end of the day, you made $100 in an hour. You made $100 an hour, and you had a joy, because I ain't going to lie, it's no feeling better than when somebody see their shit fixed, bro. Real live. Like when somebody, because they come to you fucked with the screen fucked up like that, right? You see the cracked screen up top, and they got work to do, and they can't get their work done, and they got a deadline, and they in a jam, and you know that you can help them. Ain't no better feeling than that. Real live. Like that was one of the euphorias that when I was in this business and I first started fixing stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I'm making money and I'm helping people. So like people don't feel like they did when they would leave a car dealer, you know, the mechanic. You feel like, damn, that motherfucker just fucked me over. I know I needed oil, but they even told me I need all this. They come back with a list of shit. You know what I'm saying? Be like, yeah, while you're here, you know, you need tune up, you need this, that. So when you leave, you don't have that same feeling, right? But these people was leaving here with a different feeling. They was leaving happy. Like, man, you don't even know. You just saved me from getting fired from my job. You just saved me from losing a big client, man. I got these photos to edit, man. Just took photos. They going in a magazine, and you just saved me. So I was like, shit, this is lit, y'all. Like, and I don't know nobody else who could have done the job. I knew nobody else who could have done a job that I could have been like, yo, go see my man. I ain't know nobody. So it was like, all right, this my lane. Ain't nobody in this lane. I'm out to master this shit. So that's why I'm here, right? 3% are RAM replacements, right? 3% of the work I do is a RAM replacement. So RAM are these little chips. If you know what RAM stands for, or you know what it is, put a 1 in the chat. If not, I'm gonna break it down to you what RAM is and what it does and the benefits of it. So one person knows. I'm gonna break it down, right? So RAM is what is called random access memory. A lot of people get this chip and this mixed up every single time because it's so similar. You hear memory, you hear storage. I don't know. People get this shit mixed up all the time. So I'm gonna make sure that y'all spent the time to learn this shit. You're not going to get it mixed up ever again. You'll never get played when you walk into a computer store. You'll know exactly what you're purchasing from every little spec breakdown, right? RAM is random access memory. This is used only when you're using the computer for certain tasks, right? This isn't hard drive. This is used for storage. Its main assignment, because that's the new popular word. Everybody knows the assignment word, right? So its main assignment is to store your information. This random access memory chip does not store your information. It does not store your information. It randomly, it's a random access tool. So I'm gonna break it down even further. You have a computer. You're running Windows 10. You decide that you need to open up a web browser to do some research, right? So you got your web browser opened up, but you're writing a paper and you're going to have Microsoft Office as well, right? Well, you're going to open up Office and you're going to open up the web browser, Google Chrome, right? Meanwhile, you've downloaded a antivirus software to protect you while you're online so that you're not downloading viruses and spyware ain't sneaking on your computer, right? So that's running also, but that runs in the background. You didn't click on that to open that up. As soon as you turn your computer on, that's automatically running, right? Well, all of these things need some type of memory to run and know where it was at when you left off from it, right? That's what this chip does, right? So this chip, say you are on Google Chrome right now, and that's the window you got up. That's your big window, and you've minimized your Microsoft Office document that you type in your paper in, right? And you're reading and you're doing your research, and then you say, all right, I want to take this information from here. I'm going to copy and paste it into my document. Then you go back down and click on that small tab and open it back up. Now you're opening that back up. You're using your RAM to do so. The RAM is that random memory. It's just keeping it on the side until you decide you want to go back and use it again. And it don't have to open it. It don't have to take as long to open it back up as it did the very first time you open it up, right? If that makes sense to you, put a 1 in the chat. I just want to make sure I broke that down the right way. All right, cool. So that is how you access. So the more RAM, so to break it down into even more, to make more sense for you, why would you need a lot of RAM versus a little RAM? The more RAM you have, the more you can multitask on your computer, right? So if I had 4 gigabytes of RAM in a computer, and this program that I'm running requires at least a gigabyte of RAM, another program I'm running is going to require another gigabyte. I got the antivirus running, That's requiring about a 0.5 gigabyte. It's running in the background. And then I have the actual operating system running. All of that is using up RAM. So then you find out, you try to do one extra little thing and the computer just goes into handicap mode, right? And it's frozen and it's moving slow as shit and you got the spinning wheel. It's because you've used all your RAM. You've used all your RAM and you would need to upgrade the RAM on that computer. So if that's a common thing you notice is once you get too far or too deep into a workload, or you start opening certain programs, and that's when the computer starts to start glitching and moving slow and like it's in the Matrix, right? That's an indication that you need more RAM. Another way you can find out if you're using too much of your RAM is you can do Alt Control Delete, and that'll pull up a task manager and it'll let you see how much RAM is being utilized right now. And it'll tell you in percentage. So out of 100%, it might say you're using 75% of your RAM right now, or you're using 90 or 100%. You never want to be using a large amount of it. If you notice that you're using a large amount of it, then it's time to upgrade your RAM chips. These RAM chips are very simple, right? So we go back to this computer, right? This right here, if I open it up, which I'm about to do for y'all, it's like an access panel, right? I'm just taking a screwdriver and knocking out 4 screws on this one. Some of them, it's just 2, right? So this panel comes off and you're inside the access panel. These chips right here, these are RAM chips. All you would be doing is 2 clips on both sides of the chip. When you open those clips, the chip will pop right on out at you, right? And then you can just slide the chip out of the computer and put, so we should say about 50% of RAM. For RAM, you can go a little, it depends on the task. If you're running a lot of tasks, then over 50% is gonna be fine. But if you ain't doing shit, like if you feel like, damn, I ain't really doing that much, and I'm at a high-ass number, then yeah, then it's time to upgrade. So that's normally how I gauge it, right? Is like, I'll look at it and be like, yo, I ain't really even doing that much. Like all I did was open up Google Chrome. Like I ain't do shit else. I ain't playing no music. I ain't watch no movies. I ain't, you know what I'm saying? I ain't doing shit. I'm not playing no video games or nothing on this junk. Why am I running at half of the capacity of it? You see what I'm saying? So you could do that and find out where you fall at in performance wise, and then you can make modifications. So that's normally what I do to figure those things out. And then, like I said, the other 2% of repairs would be like motherboard jobs where like the computer just won't turn on, things like that. And me, at the skill set that I am at in my career, I take that 2% on and make 100% of the bag. But as a person that's starting out, I would, man, fuck with the 98% of the money in the business and leave that other 2%, because what they tell you in when I was growing up, the OGs would be like, yo, all money ain't good money, right? So I'm not gonna fuck up my name and my reputation trying to get some money that is iffy, right? And those repairs, if it ain't one of these top 3, which is hardware, screen, hard drive, screen, or RAM, the rest of it could get cloudy, because now it could be a bad component on the motherboard. It could be, but those signs, the signs or the symptoms ain't gonna be as clear. You know what I'm saying? The symptoms ain't gonna be as clear. So why if you're not experienced or you don't, at that point, then I say go and get the A+ certification if you want to expand it and get that 2% of that bag. But most of my mentees, I tell them to leave that out. Like, don't even fuck with that. Because one, they're time-consuming repairs. Because like I said, the symptoms aren't as clear. So you spend a lot of time diagnosing the problem. It's not like it's evident when somebody walk in with a screen that's cracked like that in the picture, it's evident what you gotta do. So the time that it take me to one, figure out what the problem is, two, to address the problem and fix it, and then collect the bag, is a more profitable situation, right? All right. So leave a 1 in the chat right now. I just want to make sure y'all follow me. If y'all, you know what I'm saying, if I broke that down and y'all understand how this business works and how, you know, the hardware and the software stuff come together. Now, one thing I didn't tell you is if you were to do a hard drive replacement, right? Say a hard drive go bad. I think Kiara said it, messed up, fucked up her hard drive, not turning it off and stuff like that, right? You have to know secret number 1. You have to learn this skill set, because once you put a new hard drive in, you need, like I said, this stores everything on it. So the operating system is stored on here. So then that's how you double the bag up. Now, 1, we got to install a hard drive, right? 2, we have to install an operating system on a hard drive. Caught that? 1, we got to put the hard drive in because your hard drive went bad. You didn't turn your computer off. You just was walking around carrying it. You know, the jump still on, CD just the spinning inside, bam, your shit scratched up over time. It's not booting, or it's clicking, or it's making some sort of noise. Like I said, diagnosing that problem is way easier and faster. You can get to it quicker, and you can get to the repair side quicker, which gets you to the money side quicker, right? So whenever you do a hard drive replacement, you end up having to put an operating system on anyway. So you end up having to go back to knowing that software. Now, the following tools you'll need to be successful in this business, it's not much you need, y'all, to be successful. If you stick with this formula that I'm showing y'all and not trying to get too experimental and start soldering boards and doing some extra shit, just stick to this, because this is where the money is going to fall at, and everything else is just going to be down the road. You can make money doing it down the road, but you have to perfect this format, right? You need OS, you need the flash drives. So you're going to need these OS flash drives, right? I keep tons of them, different operating systems on. You're going to need a precision screwdriver toolkit, right? So I keep an iFixit kit on deck. This gives you every single bit for just about any computer that is known to man. And this will also work for iPad, tablets, and iPhones. You'll be able to use the same kit to do the phone repair, just like the computer repair. That business is damn near the same thing. So if you're interested in phone repair over the computer repair, it's the same format as far as how the money is made, right? You're going to also need customer repair forms. So like all my customers come in, this is a ripped up one, I'm trying, but we have a repair form, right? That breaks down the cost of all of the repairs. And it also lets people know our terms and conditions of once you drop this computer off, what we will be responsible for, what we won't be responsible for, and then they sign the back. So another way we make money, right, is people will drop off a computer and then decide that they don't want to come pick it up. So they decide they want to pick it up. Well, in our contract, it'll say that we charge $5 per day after a certain period of time. If you leave your computer here, it's a $5 per day storage fee. So we make money off of the storage fee of the computers. And then it's another contingency where some people just don't pick their shit up. And then after a certain amount of time, that now becomes a free computer. You already fixed it. You gotta get paid for your services. So now that's a free computer. That's your computer. You can turn around, sell it, do whatever you want to do with it. So that's free money in the bag right there. If you structure your repair form right, don't start doing repairs and think because it's your uncle, your cousin, or your friend, you don't need one of these, right? Because the moment they try to accuse you of doing some shit, this is going to be your protection. You know what I'm saying? We let people know we're not responsible if you lose any information on it, on the computer. We tell them all of that. So, because those problems can occur, you know what I'm saying? So you want to dead that before you get started. Another tool we use is a SATA. It's called a Saturn USB connector. It's widely used because when these hard drives go bad or we want to clone a hard drive, we can take this tool. It plugs right into these hard drives, right? And then this end part, you got a regular USB. So now I can plug this into a computer and I can back up files for customers. So like if the hard drive is going bad, I could pull this hard drive out, put a new hard drive in, right? Do the OS reload. And when I'm finished doing all the steps for the OS reload, I would then plug their old hard drive in, plug it to this tool right here, stick it in the USB, and then I can back up the data that was on the computer if it's able to read. If it doesn't read, then that's when I forward this customer to a hard drive specialist. They got companies out here that all they do is recover shit off hard drives, and they play on your vulnerability because not too many people have the setup to take these apart and extract the data off, right? So a lot of times them companies will charge you $500 to $1,000 to get your shit off of these jumps if your hard drive fucked up. $500 to $1,000, right? To do that. So it's a money-making business, and a lot of people they don't want to pay it, but I mean, if it's some sentimental shit, or if you feel like you just had the next Steve Jobs idea and it was stored on that hard drive, or you just came out with a song and then you knew that motherfucker was gonna be the one, you pay that $500 to $1,000 to get your shit over that hard drive, and they know that, so they will, you know what I'm saying, they'll tax your ass for it, and depending on the size and how much is on the hard drive, they're gonna tax you accordingly. And then the last thing you need is computer access. You can't be working on computers and you don't have a computer. I use different websites that will show me like step-by-step directions on how to break down certain computers if I'm doing especially my Mac computers, because you do not want to fuck stuff up. So I have websites that I use, and so it's always good to have just a computer on deck. Or if your flash drive tool ain't working, you're able to go on and download different things. If your Wi-Fi not working on the computer you're working on and you need to download an update or something, you can then download it on another computer, transfer that software that you downloaded onto the repair computer. And so it's always good to have a computer that actually works and is functional, so that you can kind of use that computer to fix the other computers, especially in software cases. That comes in handy. All right, so major parts to be familiar with. It's not many parts to these computers. A lot of people overthink it, and that's what deters them from even touching these jumps, because they see shit and it all look foreign. And when they don't recognize the parts, they just be like, yo, I'm not fucking with it because I'm gonna fuck something up. So the major parts to be familiar with, we already introduced you to the RAM. We introduced you to the hard drives. They got SATA cables. The motherboard is that picture up top, which is like the main board where everything kind of plugs into. You have optical drives, which is the technical term for it. But if you just want the basic term, it's your CD drive or your DVD drive. Then the power supply, which is where the power would go in and plug into this whole device to make it get power. And then last but not least, they have video cables, like the cable, like I showed you, that goes from the motherboard, it runs up through the screen, and then it plugs in the back of the screen. So a lot of times you don't have to really do repairs on these parts, but if you dive into, you know, this field a little deeper, these are gonna be a lot of the parts you're gonna need to be familiar with if you're gonna be diving into this game, right? So I don't want to keep y'all here too long. I do, you know, I have some mentees that I've coached over the years, and I just wanted to brag on them before I get y'all out of here. But if y'all felt like this was something and you learned from it, just leave a 1 in the chat. I just want to know if I did a pretty good job presenting what I presented today. I tried not to go over an hour, because I know everybody has things to do. Shout out to A Young, Big One. That's what's up. I appreciate it. So over the past years, I've learned this whole formula of how to make money in this business and make it the easy way, right? And I've had some mentees that I've taught. Executive Electronics is one of them. It's my homeboy, man. I sat in his shop for 5 years and we worked side by side. I showed him, when I first got with him, I was basically renting out the back of his store, right? So that I could run my business, right? But he was not a thriving store when I moved in. He was a surviving store, meaning that he was just getting by. He wasn't really making enough money. And that's why he decided to let me rent out half of his store in order for him to have a little more cushion in his business so that he ain't putting all the money he making to his rent and his bills, and he ain't really got no leftover money. By the time I left his store, he was a thriving store. You know what I'm saying? After learning my strategies and practicing them, within months, he was making 10K a week. He expanded from just doing iPhones and TVs to doing all electronics, and he 10x'd his income. So I just wanted to shout out Executive Electronics. If y'all in the DMV, you follow my man. He does what I do, and I'm big up. And I'm big on power and proximity and making sure that we collaborate over, compete with each other. So I've always liked to shine a light on others who sat down and learned these steps and actually it worked for them. My biggest success story is my man Jose. Jose, because he's so young, man, I'm so proud of him. Jose was renting a small office out in the Silver Spring when I first met him. And he was also living in that joint, right? It was just like a little office space for like $500 a month where you could get like a little, like a little doctor's office type, a little corner type junk, right? In a building. It wasn't really set up for retail. He went from living in that space and actually doing business in there to renting he got his own condo now. He overlooking the city of Silver Spring. He got 2 store locations and he made his first $100,000 last year in 1 year. Now he just opened up his own store out in Silver Spring. This is his new store. He followed my little strategies of how to get, build and scale up his business. Now he has a storefront. He just opened it. August 25th was the grand opening. So it's not that long ago, right? And he sent me a text the other day, August 20th, before he opened the store. I got the sneak peek video. That's the text message. And he just was thanking me like, yo, thanks for getting me this far. Thanks for all the advice. This brother, 24 years old, y'all. He driving a Corvette. He living a life, Slim. I wish I knew or had someone who could mentor me or mentor me when I was his age. You know what I'm saying? I would have, man, I'm almost 40 years old. I don't even want to get into that, but you know what I'm saying? I wish I would have started at his age because, man, the sky the limit for this brother. He going to be a millionaire. I can see it. And then I got Positech Solutions, right? He's followed my strategies. He was one of the guys who he found the plugs and learned how to find the computers, but he didn't want to learn the whole repair side. And I was like, so he wanted to like partner with me. And I was like, nah, bro, I think you should learn the game. Like, don't cheat yourself, right? Learn the game, learn how to fix the stuff up. But he had a 9-to-5, and that's why he was trying to shortcut himself out. Like, yo, how about I give you the Jones, you fix them and sell them, woody woo. I'm like, you can't afford me. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest, if I was to do all of this, bruh, you wouldn't make no money off of this shit. Like, you'd be breaking even for real. So I was like, bruh, so I sat down, mentor him, taught him the way. He sent me a DM not too long ago. Bruh, I've been working my way through this inventory, just repairing and flipping myself, more hours and work, but the reward on the return is greater. I appreciate the advice you gave me. So I'm just proud to be able to shout these brothers out because they're doing positive things. They're making a lot of, you see how many computers he got sitting on his floor and he fixed them all up and he's selling them. These, computer business, the sweet part about it is that whether I'm doing a repair or I'm selling you a computer, the lowest amount of money you're going to hand me is $75 to $100. That's the lowest amount of money you're going to hand me. So it's worth me sitting here and doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to show them the power of that. And these guys empower themselves and they out here making 6 figures. Everybody is over a 6-figure earner right now. So I'm gonna wrap this up. So before I wrap this up, I just wanted to ask you guys this. If you had the opportunity to sit and do a mentorship program, would you do it? I'm offering a mentorship program in 6 weeks. It's $800 and you'll be able to, this is what you're going to get for free with the mentorship program. You'll be able to get the flash drive kits where we'll put together all your flash drives, right? You'll have Windows OSs for UEFI and the legacy drives. For Windows 10, you'll get the iFixit Precision kit that I use. You'll have the same exact kit. You'll have my template for the repair forms. You'll also have your own Saturn USB tool. You'll get access to our Facebook group with other techs, and where we'll be sharing information on, like, if you got stuck on a repair or whatever. It's a private group. You'll have access to that. I also give you my secret vendors list. This is the plug list. This is where I give out all my plugs, where I buy my computers, my parts, the whole nine is in that list. And then we also do weekly 30-minute training video calls where you can sit down and we talk about different things and we go over different topics, all revolving around this business and bettering the shopper and our skill set, because iron sharpens iron. And then last but not least, you get access to our step-by-step repair videos. Well, I've been sitting down over the years in this office. I don't know if y'all know, but I got the camera set up. We've been shooting a lot of the repairs so that you'll have like reference tools to watch somebody do what you're trying to do, so that you could have a step-by-step and a visual at the same token. So if any of you guys are interested in signing up for the mentorship program, you can DM me or email me. I recommend emailing me at dmvcomputerman.com, and we'll get you all set up with the first week of your first date on the mentorship program, and we'll get you all set up with the tools you need. We'll send you out the templates, the vendors list, the whole nine, and we'll get started with the training, y'all. So I appreciate y'all for sticking through this presentation. It was an hour long. I hope I ain't bore y'all. Shouts out to everybody that, came, because we had 80 people sign up. There's only like 5 people in here, but I didn't expect a large turnout, to be honest, because when you're doing something for free, people don't really care. But when if they was to pay for it, to get this education y'all just got and this information y'all got, more people would probably show up, but less people would sign up. So appreciate y'all, man. Good looks, hey young. If y'all got any questions, I'm gonna open it up for like 10 minutes for questions. You can unmute your mic and I'll answer some of y'all questions. Appreciate you too, Baz. If y'all don't want to unmute your mic for questions, you could drop them in the chat too. So either one. But I got 5 more minutes. No problem, Candace. All right, y'all. So I'm about to wrap this up. Y'all have a safe weekend. Y'all have a safe weekend, man. And I enjoy y'all. Like I said, DM me or email me, dmvcomputerman@gmail. Put in a topic, mentorship. I do take pay. I can set up a payment plan. So if you don't have a whole 800 all to drop at one time, we could do weekly payment plan. But if this is something you want to dive into and create another income, let me know, y'all.